Yeah, I know this is rural California, and so where I live on the side of Bear Mountain, we have horses and we have hogs, and we take care of ourselves. We look out for our neighbors. We don't live in a big city. We don't live in the upper story and work in the cafe below and ride our scooters around. We don't do that. We have horse trailers and we move some stock around, and it's a more rural way of life, and we like that. Now that's shrinking throughout the United States, but there's still lots of rural spots throughout the country, and they're just different than the way people would live in the city. The people in the city seem to tolerate being told what to do all the time, when to do it, and accepting of it. We believe in more self-reliance, less government, smaller government, efficient government.
You can't blame people for not wanting to be part of California anymore, can you? Now, you know how bad it is up here with the politics and the cost of living and the drama. Well, I found a place in this state that's not like the rest of them. Somewhere better. And it's affordable too. Shockingly. You might even want to move here. And I never thought I'd say that. We are in Redding, California right now. Right in the middle of the most hardcore red of this state. This part of California doesn't identify with the rest of that state down there. No way, Jose. No way. In fact, they're talking about breaking away from the rest of California up here. And Redding is in the middle of it all, the unofficial capital of Northern California. And we're going to spend a little time here today and talk to folks here that are common sense people that want to keep this place the way it is and keep all that shit out. We're going to hang out right here. Here we go. Let's go.
Future way, I give mine. We don't have to see eye to eye. All the time. If you leave, I'll go. I'll make my exit slow. If you leave, I'll go. I'll make my exit slow.
So a long time ago, a bunch of people in Northern California got together and they were like, our taxes are all going down to LA and San Francisco. Our roads and our forests up here look like crap. They don't care about us over here. They were like, we should be our own state, damn it. We'll call ourselves the State of Jefferson. Look, they even made a big map. Big plans for this. Thought through it for a long time. And they got a bunch of local support. People around here were like, hell yeah, let's do it. Well, clearly that never happened. They've tried over 200 times to get this whole thing moving forward. But there's still a bunch of people up here who try to keep this idea alive. They think one day they can break away from California's clutches. Ooh. They want their own gun laws, their own environmental regulations, and the taxes. God, what are we paying for up here anyways? The damn illegals? You guys have been sending me comments about Redding for a long time. Here's one. Nick, there's a part of upstate that's so conservative you think you were in Alabama. What? I'm talking Confederate flags, raised trucks, redneck looking dudes wearing overalls. And the center of all that is right here in Redding, the unofficial capital of Northern California. How you doing, pretty girl? You got some milk? You got some milk? Yeah. All right. How you doing? All right. So, who are these people? Who wants out of California? What are they all about anyway? What's up with this State of Jefferson movement? Is it more about excessive regulation and leave us alone kind of shit? Well, for that, we're going to meet Patrick. He's right down the road. Actually, he's way up the road. He's the leader of the State of Jefferson group up here. One of the most vocal people that wants to separate from California. He runs a radio talk show and everything. Yes, he does. And he owns a gun store too. And we're going to go in there and talk to Patrick right now. You guys don't want to be part of California either, do you? No. No. He said no. No.
So I'm Patrick Jones, former mayor of the city of Reading. I was mayor in 2010 and Shasta County Board of Supervisor, and I was chairman of the board in 2023. Worked in firearm shop for my whole entire life from a small boy till today. And in this industry and in a lot of other things in local government, we've seen just the overreach of government and Sacramento basically becoming tyrannical. And so for a long time, splitting the state has been important to us. More so in the last 40 years when we've really seen this shift towards very liberal and progressive policies that don't fit rural California. So the splitting of the state has been attempted over 240 times. Even from the very beginning, before the state was formed, there was talk of having 3 states, and I wish they would have done that. But and in the last 100 years, no state has been split, and no state will be split as long as the legislature has to approve. In both houses, the Senate and Assembly would have to approve that, as well as Congress, and that isn't going to happen in California. No state wants to get rid of a large geographic rural area of their state, even though we have no representation. They do not care about that. They would rather have more land, not less land. They would rather have more natural resources, not less. They would have more people to tax, not less. So while we've wanted the state to split for a long time, and there's at least 2 attempts going on right now, they're not likely to happen with the system that's there. And it's all about lack of representation that we deserve. We live in a republic, and we should have our voices heard in Sacramento, and we don't.
Now you can see why people up here don't identify with the rest of California. Reading's in Shasta County. It's the biggest city up here for a long ways. There's almost 100,000 people up here now. The whole area up here is forest. There's little towns and cities scattered around. Nothing like Southern California or the Bay Area where all the votes are counted. They have their own lifestyle up here. It's slower paced. It's tight-knit. People up here hunt and hike. They go to church. They spend time in the community. They work in agriculture. Just good people. This area used to be full of miners and loggers, but not so much anymore. But they're still tough and macho, though. You might remember, a long time ago, I called this the 5th most redneck place in California. Remember this? There seems to be a debate online whether or not Reading has more meth heads or rednecks. When you consider that Reading has the 2nd most bars per capita and is 3rd in California for fishing, it's clear that rednecks rule the day in Reading. Fact is, Reading is simply a magnet for rednecks in the Central Valley. Nearby is Shasta Lake, which has some of the best bass and trout fishing around. Go! That's the Sacramento River. They say top 10 in the world for fishing. Salmon or trout. Trout, I think he said. They got a lumberjack at a place called Lumberjacks. Well, that's tough guy stuff. 70% of people up here voted for Trump. California's actually kind of changing its politics. In case you haven't heard, it's not nearly as blue as it once was, especially up here. No time for Trantifa up here, mister. It's a very activist, anti-government, conspiracy theory type of place. Our constitutional rights have been taken away. COVID was fake. They're so skeptical of government that they changed their voting machines. Not too long ago, some locals staged a coup up here, and they kicked out one of their elected officials, and they gave control to a group in town with far-right beliefs. What? They cannot stand environmentalists that are against water restrictions. They hate gun laws, and they hate illegals. Hate them. Send them home. Here they are right now. That's your favorite YouTuber. These people are ultra conservative. Charlie Kirk flag, US flag. All right, so there's all these no on 50. Keep it the way it is. This is the Trump 2024 version of knocking on doors. Trying to see if we can get the woman we just talked to back there said, go to the Elks Lodge. So we might go there, but let's just try this. Your favorite YouTuber. All right, we came to the Elks Lodge up here in Reading. Let's see what everyone's got to say.
You have a lot of people here that are just nothing but people that want to raise families and God and our First Amendment, our Second Amendment, and everybody just wants to live the way of life, and they're happy to be here. And it's just, we all are kind of like kept in a bubble because we're in California and our votes really don't matter, but we want it to matter and we love it here and we all want to stay here. And it's just, it's different. We all love it here, and it's like everybody says, oh, you're in California, oh, you're Democrat, or you're this. No, California is pretty Republican.
When you come here, you sort of become part of the culture, and the culture takes care of each other, and we all look out for each other, which is a little bit different. We're not here to get a leg up on somebody else. We're here to all be one, and it's just a great place to live.
Mm-hmm. It's off the radar unless you know. I don't know.
Well, I think you're right. I think, though, it's one of those things where they take the equity out of the home they sell and come and can get a comparable home with what their equity was. Sometimes they stay and sometimes they don't. You know, sometimes our values are a little different than what they want. And so they're here for 3 or 4 years and they're gone. So that's kind of, it works great if you're a realtor because you sell them and then you sell them again.
So people that don't have conservative values move up here and realize I'm surrounded by conservatives, and then they bail?
Absolutely.
Go back to where they came from?
Absolutely.
A lot of people probably come up and they want to change things, and then they realize these folks aren't budging.
Right. They're not budging. Yeah, it's the American way.
Yeah, Northern California is probably the best place in the country to live. The weather's great. The people are great. It's a big family up here in Northern California. The problem is we're being invaded by
Two balls are red and they control
the ones from the south. I'm not going to call them names. I'm not going to call them whatever you want to call them, but we don't need you here. And, there's a better place for you. That might be the East Coast. So get out of here, and we'll salute you later. Thank you very much. Over and out.
Well, hell, I came down here to Redding and got an earful from some good people down here at the Elks Club. We're going to continue talking to people, but I'm telling you what, these are the best people in the state, some of the best people in the country. They're not going to be happy I'm saying it, but this is a great place to live, and it's affordable.
In 1962, something happened in California where each county had one senator. And at least in the Senate, Shasta County was just as powerful as LA County. And so we had representation prior to that time and prior. Once that was stripped away and based off population, then of course the cities are going to control rural California. That was a huge mistake for representation. And will Washington do something about it? Because California is not the only state that this is the issue. You see lots of states where Nevada, for example, 1 or 2 cities control the entire state. You see it in Oregon with Portland. You see Seattle and Washington. You see a lot of states where the big population controls the state. And of course, big populations are always liberal. They always are. And those liberal policies are fine if you want to keep them in those cities, but let rural Californians have their way of life too. And they do not match. And what they think is acceptable in the cities is very different in rural California. And so there is no, uniting on some issues. We're just different, and we're not asking them to change. But we have to conform to their laws and their rules, and we believe they're tyrannical, and they suppress freedom, and we think they're in violation of the United States Constitution, which is, the supreme law of the land. What will be done? It ultimately is up to the people. What is a U.S. citizen required to do when you have a government that becomes tyrannical? A lot of people have moved, and unfortunately they leave with their experiences and their pensions. We see it all the time, and more people are filling and backfilling those positions, but they're not the same people that left. They're a very different type of person, and it's destroying the Golden State. And in time, and we're kind of seeing it now. We have failed budgets that can't keep up with all these liberal policies, and and we have enough money. There isn't a revenue problem. It's a spending problem, and let people be free. You would see a better state. But by trying to control everything that we do, and California, they're passing 1,000 laws a year. That's typically 1,000 things you can't do in every aspect. We see it in our industry all the time, and it makes it very difficult. And what ultimately happens, you leave the state. Our forefathers knew what to do. Now the question is, will people do that in the various states where their governments are out of control and they're not representing the people? It's a big deal. Only time will tell.
Now, you've heard it all before. Everybody complains that most of California is just getting worse. But a lot of people here in town in Redding say Redding's getting better. And it's affordable, people. I know, right? I think some of you are going to look at this and be like, that's what I've been looking for, Nick. Attaboy. We're on our way. All right, so supposedly this is kind of a side of Redding that's... I was told is like upper middle class Redding. And I've got good news. I'm seeing 380 to 450 up here on the outskirts of Redding. This looks more middle class to me than anything. But this is really, really affordable. If you know anything about California, this is wonderful. 375 to 400 for this. That is just half off for what you'd pay in a lot of California. And I'm not trying to say you should move to Redding, but if you're conservative and you want affordable and no nonsense, a lot of people up here are no on 50. Here's some more no on 50. Man, defend fair elections. No on 50. These people aren't messing around up here. There's a house for sale, and that is $379 for that house right there. Get it while you can. No grass, but beautiful views. Look at these real estate listings here. $299 in a nice neighborhood in a wonderful city. $250 with a pool down by the river. What? Look at all the real estate under $300K. Man, is that a steal for California? One website said this is one of the best cities in California to move to that's still affordable. And I believe it.
Yeah, there's certain catchwords. One of those catchwords is conservative. But you know what? We can kick it into like tradition. That people here are much more tradition. They believe in the things that I grew up with, common courtesy, respect. And the family is very important. Redding is is also an area that has a very strong basis of faith. There's a lot of churches here. In fact, one thing that really attracted us is when we were here, you started running into people and they'd ask you what church you're going to. It's kind of like from where I'm from, it's like that was not even in the conversation. But up here, a lot of that is involved. So.
How has it remained so affordable up here? It's like half price for double the beauty and quadruple the values.
So that is a great question. And I don't have a real easy answer for that. I can say that there's a lot of room to expand. And so there are areas that are continuing to be developed. A lot of new construction is going up. And I don't know if you want me to break down on the prices, but you have the older parts of town where you can find very nice homes from anywhere between $300,000 to $400,000. You have newer developments with nice big homes. Those, of course, go for $4 to $5. And then there's new construction, which you can actually pick up new construction for $500 as well.
A lot of people don't know how different it is here from the rest of the state.
Oh, it's like a whole different state. It's kind of its own community. We have a lot of different people who believe we should be a totally separate state. If you came here, I definitely encourage people to come visit because it's literally like walking back in time. It's beautiful, and we still have parks and lakes and rivers and mountains, and it's literally you could go skiing in one day and then come down to Redding and get on the river and go fish. Well, we believe in the family unit. You know, it's very important. There's a lot of homeschooling here. We have a lot of really great schools that also believe in that. I would also say that it's just a beautiful place to raise your kids. Like, it's safe. You can still let your kids ride their bikes in the neighborhoods. That's, you know, not common down south or in the Bay Area. So we're safe. So super affordable, super reasonable. We get everything from brand new families to retirees. It's a great community for that, for every age, really.
So I mentioned a minute ago that one of the catchwords was safety. And I do believe, because we're standing on this bridge and there's all kinds of families walking up and down here, it is a safe community. I don't want to say you can leave your doors unlocked, but the risks that you'll have in a more urban area are much, much less here. And people do look out for one another. I mean, if you're affecting somebody else's safety, you're affecting mine. For people who want an established life, a traditional way to live, Redding has got it.
There you go. And just perfect timing to get the dudes down there fishing. It's unlike the rest of California.
If you were to go south and you go see all the encampments and everything else, and we still have that here. We have that issue here, and that's what the problem is how they're dumping people into our town from Sacramento, San Francisco, Portland, and they just bring them all in here.
Now, you might be looking at all this and you might be thinking, Redding's perfect, Nick. It's not. The logging days are long gone. It hasn't necessarily reboomed. They've got drugs and homelessness here like they do in other places. It's not a big deal, but it's getting worse and people are complaining about it. They're not going to put up with it, but they have to tolerate it, I guess. And we're going to get to that part right now. So a lot of people have been complaining about the damn Bay Area sending up homeless people, and nobody can understand why. Redding's not perfect. They do have some issues up here with drugs and homelessness, and it seems to be getting a little bit worse. People up here seem to be a little bit concerned, but not worried. They're like, oh, we'll handle it. Like, they're not freaking out about it. They're tough. Supposedly the crime numbers up here are inflated because people here actually call the cops. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know they're trying to enforce the law. They throw the book at them up here. Good for them. So here's what we found. We drove around. The type of stuff you guys like to watch because you're weird. I said, where's the worst of it? They said down by the library. And the worst of it is, and there are quite a few people out here, but you know, this is really not that bad. For Redding, it's probably bad. I'm sure there's pockets. There's probably a lot of riffraff that's hanging out all over the place. Life in California, it's everywhere. Homelessness and drugs and crime, they're getting pretty bad here. Homelessness is up 33%. Every single person at a homeless camp in Redding is on fentanyl. What the hell? The number of people that have died using fentanyl up here has skyrocketed 500% in 1 year. Close the borders. They don't tolerate the homeless junkie stuff up here because they've seen what it's done to the coast, but that doesn't mean it's not here. All right.
Hello.
Hold this like you're on TV.
All right. I'm really good at that.
Okay, you live in Redding?
Yep.
What do you like about Redding? What do you not like about Redding?
So I love the nature trails. I love the overview looks. Like, we have some fantastic overview looks. Like, they're the best ones in my opinion. I've been to 32 states. I'm from Redding. I don't like that we have an over inundation of predators because the state actually partnered with our county for release, and that's crazy.
A lot of people don't know that Redding is different than the rest of California.
Oh, we are the most Republican county in all of California. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. I'm somewhere in the middle. I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but I do like some Tom McDonald.
Without freedom, nothing else matters. And so unfortunately, we would rather have those good people stick it out and fight, because if you don't fight it here, it'll spread to wherever you go, and we're seeing that in places now all over the West Coast.
Can California be red ever again?
Well, it's hard to say whether it's red or blue. We don't have fair elections, so you can't really trust the maps that you see, and we haven't had fair elections for a while. We're learning just about how the cheating has been going on. We're seeing it in our own county, and it can happen at your county level. It can happen at the state level. So I'm not sure what color California really is. It would be nice to see what it is. You've seen some very different maps from 2020 to 2024. Did it really change, or really was it the same? I suspect it was the same. You're just seeing something different, that's all.
All right, we're outside of the gun store here, out here in Reading. Just had a word with Patrick, a good old boy here in Reading. And, one thing that stood out to me after we talked was he said, a lot of people aren't fighting, they're leaving. Reading's population, the Northern California's population, is continuing to kind of go up, but the people that are coming up here, the wealthy ones from the coast that want to take advantage of the cost of living, sometimes they bring their drama and their way of life and their change, their political views. And what's frustrating is for him, he says he's losing a lot of customers because they're fleeing the fight. He said they're leaving Northern California. They're tired of the cost of living. They're tired of the politics. They're moving on to Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. They're moving on to better places that are more supportive of their politics, and that is very frustrating. So stick around, Northern Californians. Don't leave the fight. They need you here. They need good people. Now, would you move here if this part of the state became its own state? You just might be thinking about it. Now, this whole separate from California thing, you're probably thinking that's a bunch of horse shit. And maybe it is, or maybe it isn't. But either way, it goes to show you that California might be coming to its senses, might be turning around. Things might be going in a different direction. You never know. But I'll tell you what, if you decide to move up here, don't bring none of that bullshit with you. They will not put up with it up here, mister. They'll probably string you to that tree up there or something like that. And that is a cut, and I'm tired.
It's okay to disagree, doesn't mean there's some wrong with you or me. If you leave, I will go. I'll make my exit slow. Ain't looking for an answer, ain't looking for love. Grab on the trigger, get yourself a loaded gun. You may think I would change just cause you walk away. Every single time. If you leave, I will go. I'll make my exit slow. If you leave, I will go. I'll make my exit slow.
Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed that report from America. So we've been to every state now, and we know so many great places that most people don't know about. If you're trying to figure out where you should move, I can help. Email me, and I'll tell you about how I can find you the perfect place for you to move to. And if you need a realtor, I can help you with that as well. No one else knows America more than Nick and Kim and Mappy. This is my email. You can also find it in the description or on the channel. And if you want to buy some Mappy gear, well, you can find that link in the description as well. You can get shirts, hats, mugs, stickers, hoodies, all kinds of great Mappy merch. Click the link, get some Mappy gear. I'm also on Cameo. If you want me to send you or somebody you know a personalized video message, go to Cameo and search Nick Johnson, or just click the link in the description. Well, hey, Nick Johnson fans. So YouTube's pushing this whole membership thing now, and I think it's great. So I set one up for this channel. If you want to be a member on this channel, you can only do it on your computer right now. They make it hard for some reason. So go and hit join right there, and you can support the channel and join various membership tiers. I'm excited about it because I'm going to post all sort of behind the scenes content, extra interviews, fun Mappy stuff, bonus songs, and more. Just some extra stuff that doesn't make it onto the main channel. So think about becoming a member. Huh, everyone?
You should join. I did.
Thanks for watching.